That was inspiration. I think we've reached the stage in South Africa now that if we're not finger pointing and shouting at each other, we're called naive. And really, I prefer this kind of evening that builds and that shows us what is possible in our society. This has been amazing to listen to you, Mr. Kraak, and I go away inspired to be a better South African as a result of what you've said tonight. Thank you very, very much. Now, my maths is not so good, but can somebody help me? How many high schools are there in South Africa? Yeah, Alma, is it about 28,000? Okay, 25,000 schools. Okay, let's go for everything. 25,000 schools. Louise and her team, she told me now, will have reached 500 of them by the end of 2015. Now, 25, that means we need 49 more people in this room, and we can cover South Africa. That's a thought. That's a thought. And we all throw our hands in the air and say, this is not possible, and you know what. We need 49 more people, and we can cover all the schools in South Africa. Somebody wrote in the newspaper recently that reconciliation in South Africa has not failed, Archbishop. It's just not been tried yet. We've articulated the dream, and we know about the Rainbow Nation, but we're not yet living it. And hence this theme this year, about living reconciliation. And I think one of the saddest things of our discourse at the moment is that we've put justice and reconciliation as opposites, as if justice fails because we've got too much reconciliation. What tonight shows very clearly is that if people come together eyeball to eyeball, you get more justice. It's of not enough reconciliation that we don't have more justice. If we had more reconciliation, got closer together, felt one another's needs, I think we would have had more justice in the society as well. I think we went back to business after '94 far too quickly and privatized ourselves again. And so I'm delighted to also see that the split between the private and the public worlds are being broken here. Because every big business leader is also a public figure with public responsibility. And every public institution builds private well-being. We can't get away from it. And so we need to start breaking these boundaries down. I've just looked at the list of previous recipients, and I would like to read them to you tonight, because it also in itself tells a story of where reconciliation in this country has come from. In 2000, this award was given to Tim Modise. Do you remember Tim Modise, the radio host? For getting the nation talking. At that point, we were not yet certain we could converse. And if there's something we've learned since, is that we are very good at talking. Peter Dirk Ace in 2001 for enabling us to laugh at ourselves. That was the time of the HIV and AIDS activism. PJ Powers and Sibongile Kumalo for singing one another's songs in 2002. Dalla and Farida Omar for their contribution to the TRC process in 2003. Mary Burton for her work in the Black Sash and elsewhere. Brigadia Bam in 2005 for her role in enabling peaceful democratic elections across the continent. Omagiki Adams, who recently passed on, who was this remarkable woman from the Northern Cape, who did the real dance and brought through her concerts white and black people together in that part of the world, for holding the community together in mourning, conflict and celebration. Then 2007, you would recall the xenophobia outbreaks. And we awarded the award to Masipu Malele, the community of Masipu Malele, who initially chased out the foreigners and then invited them back in with an apology and went on a door-to-door campaign to hand back the stolen goods to the foreign nationals. And we awarded the award that year to that community to show that when things go wrong, one can apologize and you can receive forgiveness. 2008, previous time we acknowledged education, was the Shine Center, which is a fellow NGO that works in the education sector to help also through volunteerism, foundation phase learners with literacy on a Saturday morning, and in fact now right through the week. 2009, when he retired, we felt it right to give the award to Judge Albie Sachs for his lifelong commitment to reconciliation and what he calls soft vengeance. Soft vengeance. Then in 2011, we awarded the award to Miss Olga Matungwana from Worcester, who is this woman who was one of the victims of the bombing in Worcester, the Christmas bombings in 1996, when the extreme right-wing set some bombs off to try and destabilize South Africa. And Olga was in fact injured in that bomb attack. Then afterwards asked to go and see the person who bombed her and who was held in C-Max prison in Pretoria, Stefans, and I forget his surname now, Kutsia I think it is, and went up there and met him and extended forgiveness to him, and then said, now listen, why did you come back to Worcester where you made so much damage? Come and help us rebuild this community. And he's now, I don't know if the transfer has gone through, and then in fact the whole community went up on a peace train to Pretoria. The blue train, nogal, was given for the occasion. The Dutch Reformed Church did the packed lunches for the community. They went all the way up to go and meet the perpetrator, and started the process called the Peace and Hope, the Reconciliation and Hope process, with a lot of people, including Dominique Dion Snyman and others, that are leading that process in Worcester. And then last year, we gave the award in quite a moving ceremony to the Socioeconomic Rights Institute of South Africa, an NGO feisty to the bone, if there ever was one, who has taken on the plight of the Marikana victims in the Marikana Commission. You will know that those victims, I think it's 34 mine workers who were shot dead in the police violence, had no money for legal representation. The Commission only provided for police representation, not for the victims. And so the SERI stood into that gap and said, we will stand by the victims. That reminded us a little bit of the TRC and these victims telling their stories. And it is still an ongoing process, but we thought that, that process of standing by the victim is something that we need to do in society, lest we're going to have a lot more of this violence. And tonight, we are celebrating this wonderful, wonderful organization's Partners for Possibility through a program of Symphonia for South Africa. And so I want to just congratulate out of the bottom of my heart. I'm humbled to be here and to witness what you guys are doing. And we at the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation want to acknowledge and say, President Mandela passed away last year. It's now up to us to live reconciliation, to show what it looks like on a day-to-day, to try it out. And here, if you want to know what it looks like, look at Symphonia. That's what reconciliation in action looks like. It brings people closer, and it decreases the justice deficit in our society. And tonight we're here in Steenberg, and I think Mr. Kraak quite rightly struck a celebratory note tonight, because there's a lot that this school, and I think 150 others like yourselves, that can celebrate as a result of this work. Now, one final thought. One can easily think that these are the well-resourced business people coming to the under-resourced schools, and therefore the exchange is one way. I've already heard from 3 business people tonight who says their lives have irrevocably changed. It's not a question, if I listen to the process, of some resources being brought into a room, but that resources are unlocked on both sides of the equation when you break these boundaries down, and suddenly there's energy in the room. Because there's people in the room that's not necessarily always together there. And I am so thrilled to see such an audience here tonight also, coming from all corners of our beautiful city. And I think it's time now that we get those right people in the room together, unlock that energy. And the hero in the story, in the end, is the child, the youngster who gets up on a Saturday for extra classes, who comes to school and in the end of their matriculate and gets access to a wider world. That's the hero we're looking for. And well done to you that's played such beautiful music tonight.